Following is a list of the strong differences between Jesus and Muhammad. The Muslims revere Muhammad as the greatest of prophets, yet Jesus clearly demonstrated greater authority, greater teaching, and miracles than Muhammad ever did. Why would anyone want to follow Muhammad over Jesus when Jesus claimed to be divine, when he performed many miracles, when he said he alone was the truth, when Jesus raised people from the dead and rose from the dead himself? Muhammad did none of these things. However, Muhammad did have people killed. He did spread his religion through war. He married a very young girl and had relations with her when she was 9 years old. He also taught hatred of the Jews and also of the Christians, the very people who followed Jesus. Now, Jesus died and rose from the dead. Muhammad died and stayed dead. Jesus never fought. Muhammad fought many, many times. When Jesus heard from God, he went to the desert to be tempted and began his ministry with boldness. That's what Mark 1:14-15 says. When Muhammad heard from God, supposedly through the angel Gabriel, he cowered, was uncertain, and wanted to commit suicide. That's what the Quran says in Surah 74, verses 1-5. Now, Jesus claimed to be God. You can see that in John 8:24 and John 8:58. And he also claimed to be a man. Muhammad claimed simply to be a man. Jesus claimed to be the way, the truth, and the life, John 14:6. Muhammad made no such claim about himself. Jesus received his instructions from God the Father. You can read that in John 5:19. Muhammad said he received his instructions from an angel. Muhammad had many people killed, but Jesus never killed anyone. In fact, Jesus had the power to take life, but he never did. Instead, he restored it. Muhammad had the power to take life, and he did. He was never able to restore life. No one ever died in the presence of Jesus, but many people died in Muhammad's presence. In fact, he had people killed. Now, Jesus never married. Muhammad had over 20 wives and even married a 9-year-old girl. Jesus received his calling directly from God. That's Matthew 3:17. Muhammad received his instructions from an angel. Jesus received his commission in the daylight. Muhammad received his commission in the darkness of a cave. Jesus taught for 3.5 years. Muhammad taught for more than 20 years. Jesus performed many miracles, including healing people, calming a storm with a command, and raising people from the dead. Muhammad's only alleged miracle was the Quran. Jesus fulfilled biblical prophecy about being the Messiah. Muhammad did not fulfill any biblical prophecy except the ones about false teachers, as Jesus spoke in Matthew 24:24. Now, Jesus voluntarily laid his life down for others. Muhammad saved his own life many times and had others killed. Jesus never sinned, as it says in 1 Peter 2:22. Muhammad was a sinner according to the Quran in Surah 40, verse 55, and Surah 48, verses 1 and 2. Jesus owned no slaves. Muhammad, he owned slaves. Jesus was virgin born. Muhammad was not virgin born. Jesus received and heard the direct voice of God. That's Mark chapter 1, verses 10 and 11. Muhammad did not receive or hear the direct voice of God. Instead, as I've already said, it was an angel. Jesus spoke well of women. Muhammad, on the other hand, said women were half as smart as men. That's the Hadith, volume 3, number 826, and also volume 2, number 541. He said that the majority of people in hell will be women. That's the Hadith again, volume 1, number 28 and 301, and also volume 2, number 161. He said that women could be mortgaged, and in the Quran, in Surah 4:34, he said women could be beaten. When we compare Jesus and Muhammad, we find that Muhammad falls so far short of the greatness of Jesus that he cannot be held on any level remotely close to Jesus. Muhammad is clearly inferior to him.